now call upon Karen Phillip. We will welcome you and
Thank you.
Have seen you arrive softly. And Karen Phillip, she's from Central Coast Hypnotherapy and Counseling Centre, Australia, to deliver her talk on visual hypnotherapy, alternative healing method, learn to create a subconscious change to thoughts, responses, attitude, behaviors and feelings, creating healing and new inner beliefs. A short biography of Karen Phillip. She's a certified clinical hypnotherapist as well as a psychotherapist. She's also the founder and CEO and of two successful companies. She has been featured in Good Health magazine and news.com Australia on the launch of her new brand, Visual Hypnotherapy, and also featured as a businesswoman and lifestyle doctor in several other publications, including Samara Magazine, Business Insider, US Australia. And I'll take the immense pleasure to start the talk.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Hi everyone, again. Now I'm here to talk about virtual hypnotherapy. It's something that a lot of people don't really know too much about. If I could just get anyone to raise their hand if they've ever experienced hypnotherapy in their life. A couple? Great, okay, a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to go through today is how that we can utilise hypnotherapy and use it within our practices and use it as an additional modality rather than having us all doing our standalone therapy treatments for our patients. Now, I have qualifications. I have a PhD in sociology. I have a master's degree in international family studies. I've also got degree and qualifications in families and children, counselling and psychotherapy, clinical hypnotherapy, naturopathic nutrition, herbal medicine, and I'm a fitness leader, a personal trainer, and a sports coach. Just to sum up, I'm old. Been around for a long time. I do a lot of work within the media, both on radio stations and on television. I also write for a number of journalists and magazines, Kids Spot, Huffington Post, New Idea. There's a whole range that I write for both here and in America. And what am I speaking about? Well, I'm speaking about beneficial ways for practitioners to assist their clients or patients to recover and improve their quality of life by incorporating hypnotherapy into their therapeutic process. And we did virtual hypnotherapy as a way to allow all other practitioners to actually access the therapy for their patients. So what is hypnotherapy exactly? Well, it is a natural process in which the mind is more receptive to positive suggestions while releasing the negative feelings. And it assists the person to gently release the blocks and fears that it allows them to create new inner beliefs, to make changes in the way they think, they feel and behave. And I think most of us would agree that many of the patients that we see have a number of emotional or psychological blocks and issues when they come in, which manifests itself in physical ailments. So hypnotherapy, it aids the mind's ability to rapidly integrate new skills, strategies and strengths, and it's an alternative healing method that is used to create subconscious change in the form of new responses, thoughts, attitudes, behaviours and feelings to benefit the client. So as a hypnotherapist and also as a counselling psychotherapist, I don't treat the person who comes in just for a relationship issue, or they may have pain, or they may have something else going on in their life. I like to look at the entire person to find out what is actually going on, what the trigger has been for what has manifested itself. And once you can start to dig down a little bit deeper, that's when you can have some really rapid change with the person. So a lot of people ask me what the difference is between hypnotherapy and hypnosis. Well, hypnosis is defined as a state of mind, and I'm sure many of us have seen hypnotherapists on stage getting people to do crazy things and plucking like chickens. And sure, the person that's up on stage wants to be on stage and will participate, but hypnotherapy is a therapeutic modality of hypnosis. So hypnotherapy is practiced by a hypnotherapist who is trained, licensed and professionally certified, We have a couple of associations in Australia, the Australian Hypnotherapy Association and the Professional Society of Clinical Hypnotherapists. I'm with the first one, the Australian Hypnotherapy Association. So how does hypnotherapy work? Well, we allow the patient or the client to get into an altered trance state, which is characterised by deep relaxation. Therefore, they become highly focused, their attention is highly focused, and an extreme openness to positive suggestions that foster therapeutic change. Now, when using hypnosis, one person, the subject, is guided by another person, the hypnotist, to respond to suggestions for changes in their subjective experience, alterations in their perception, sensations, emotion, thought, or behaviour. And the results in hypnotherapy can be measured. And this is where, with some of the natural modalities that are around, it's very difficult to measure the results, whereas hypnotherapy, we can actually measure the results. Now, hypnotherapy is now regarded as one of the fastest and most efficient ways to naturally improve the body, health, and the mind. So it's no longer something that we just do to make people feel relaxed and feel better. We know that there are beneficial results in the body as well for their health and well-being. Hypnotherapy was registered as a medical treatment back in 1956 in the United States and has been growing in popularity ever since. In fact, one of the associations in America is the American Medical and Dental Association. And many hypnotherapists actually work within the large dental practices over in the States, and it is starting to become more popular in Australia as well. I know a couple of colleagues actually work full-time in dental practices in Sydney, Melbourne, and also in Brisbane, and they relax their the patients prior to going in for the dental work, because so many people, as we all know, arrive at the dentist absolutely freaked out because they are too scared to go in to have the required treatment or even clean in some instances. So hypnotherapy has been a really wonderful asset for many dentists over the last decade or two. Now, just a quick story. We went to Egypt a couple of years ago, had a beautiful trip down the Nile, and while we were on the boat, there was probably about 15 of us in our group. Didn't really know who many of the people were, but there was a couple of doctors, a couple of surgeons, one heart specialist, another kidney specialist, and so on. And one of the ladies, just after dinner, was complaining of a headache, and I noticed her at the table, and she'd said, "Look, I've had a couple of pills, but I'm going to have to leave because it's so intense." So I just asked her to pop aside, and as an acupuncturist, I'm sure you would know, I started to rub one of the acupuncture points while I was speaking to her, and just asked her to calm down, just to relax down, put her into a bit of a trance state, and allowed her to see and visualise the issue dissolving and the pain dissolving from her body. After probably about 10 minutes, she opened her eyes, gave her hand a shake, and she said, "Oh my God, my headache is gone. This is amazing. This is fantastic." So she continued on the night. Now, about an hour later, one of the gentlemen came up who was a retired surgeon. He was a kidney surgeon. And he sort of pulled me aside a little. He said, "Because I've got a couple of colleagues here on the trip and I don't want them to hear what I'm about to say." I thought, okay, this is interesting. And he said, "I studied in China about 30 years ago." He said, "I originally started as a cardiothoracic surgeon, but I ended up going over to renal surgery." And he said one of the very first operations that he was actually able to do in China, there was a lady that she walked in, laid on the table, and she had a hypnotherapist with her, and after about 15-20 minutes, they stepped back and they said to him, "Now you can cut." And he's saying, "There's no anaesthetic. I'm not touching this woman. She's, like, if she's asleep, she will wake up." And they said, "No. She's been having relaxation hypnotherapy now for a couple of weeks. She can't have anaesthetic." So he said, "I was so nervous." He said, "I had to do everything to stop my hand shaking." And he made the incision, separated the bones, and did the surgery on this woman that took an hour or so, he said. And then he put everything back together, sewed her up. The hypnotherapist came up, woke her up. She got off the table, walked to the bed, and then was connected up for the, I'm presuming was intravenous antibiotics. And he said, "I just stood there I could not believe what I had seen, and if someone had told me, I would never have believed it. He finished his training, went back to Australia, started to speak to his colleagues about what he'd seen. He learned very quickly that he was never to speak of it again. It was just so unaccepted. He was starting to be ostracised in his early days of surgery. So he said, I can't believe you just did that. I've seen that before. And then we started to speak about hypnosis. He didn't know I did anything about hypnotherapy, but he picked it up when I was relaxing the lady down. So it was very interesting, and as I said, that was 30 odd years ago, but the trip was only a few years ago, and he said up until he retired, which was probably about 2013, he said he still could not actually discuss the use of hypnotherapy or relaxation with any of his medical colleagues, and he was quite distressed by that. Now, just at the end of this, we're going to give everybody a free session that you can download and use at home in your own time. Okay. Now, hypnotherapy sessions are all about emotional, physical and psychological health. Many people are now entering the world, as we all know, of self-healing, and they're starting to use a very safe method, which is hypnotherapy. And many people are utilising the use of their own ability and mind to naturally improve their body and their mind. And this is the whole basis of hypnotherapy. I firmly believe, as my colleagues do, that we all have our own inbuilt ability to heal ourselves. We have the ability within us. Unfortunately, these days, we've had that ability removed from us, so we believe. We go to a medical practitioner, we get prescription drugs, we're told that we need to see this doctor, that doctor. Medical practitioners never really pass on alternative healing methods. And that is so regrettable, and I've had a number of conversations with doctors. The odd one or two may consider an osteopath or a chiropractor. Very few do they suggest that they go to an acupuncturist. But I'm now having our doctor's surgery, there's I think 7 doctors in our doctor's surgery. They're now starting to refer their clients to me as both a counsellor and a hypnotherapist. So very small steps, but we're getting there. Too slowly, unfortunately. Now we have a saying, what the mind believes, the body responds to. And I see this every day, and I'm sure many of you in your practices see exactly the same. Now, I'm just going to play this very quick video. I can't find where it is. Is there a mouse? Ah, there's a mouse. Right. Sorry. It just explains a little bit of what it is. I was interviewed by... No,
they're not working.
Yeah, mine didn't work yesterday.
Okay, here we go. Cool.
I think it is urgent.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Dr. Karen Phillip is working to demystify the power of hypnotherapy and reveal the natural benefits of the subconscious mind. So, is she a game changer? Let's find out. I'm Sarah Harris. Welcome to Game Changers. Welcome to Game Changers. Now, some people are a little bit sceptical of hypnotherapy. Why do you think that is? A lot of people see hypnotherapy as a form of hypnosis that they see on stage. It's all very interesting and people do weird things. But hypnotherapy is a therapeutic type of hypnosis, if you like. People are in full control of themselves. They hear everything, they're not out, they're not under any of those. They are simply in a relaxed state. And while they're in that relaxed state, we're able to bypass what we call the conscious critical thinking and access the subconscious part of the mind. And the subconscious part of the mind is what drives us to our habits and our behaviours. So when we can change those types of behaviours and habits that people wish to change, then the hypnotherapy works successfully. People can only do what they wish to do.
So can anyone be hypnotised for this therapy?
If you can go to sleep of a night, relax enough to go to sleep of a night, then you can certainly relax to benefit from hypnotherapy.
So there's no swinging pendulums, no look into my eyes?
No, not these days. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but in my training and my experience, no, that's sort of gone about many decades ago. What we do is we We enable the mind the conscious mind to go elsewhere. It can think of anything it wants. It could even think of preparing dinner that night. But it's the subconscious mind that we access.
People should do hypnotherapy for all sorts of reasons. Smoking cessation is one, weight loss, but you're now using it to treat anxiety and depression. Fascinating. Tell us about that.
Usually it's to do with fear. It's to do with a feeling of being overwhelmed. So what we do is we manage that emotion, not the anxiety. We have an amazing ability, all people do, to manage themselves.
Now, you have taken hypnotherapy a step further. You now offer virtual hypnotherapy sessions.
What I was finding is that I had people approaching me for my sessions, particularly for stop smoking, weight loss and anxiety, and they were coming from all over the state. I even had people Skyping in from overseas. And it was my husband that said, why don't you video what you're doing and record it all and put it online so people can access it anywhere in the world, whenever they want. So they don't need to wait for an appointment. They don't need to pay, $400 or $500 for a session. They can simply pay a small amount of money, access it whenever they want, keep the session as their own and use it whenever and if ever they need to again. And that's what we did.
Okay, so that's the interview I did with Sarah Harris from Studio 10 a few months ago, because they were very interested in what virtual hypnotherapy was. It was something completely new. They like to find out about these things and put it on film. So, research has shown hypnotherapy as a useful addition to existing treatment regimes and as a standalone therapy. So what I like to do, and the people, the practitioners I work with, is work with them rather than just using hypnotherapy as a pure standalone therapeutic model. Obviously, in certain situations, it works very well as a standalone, particularly if you've got things like stop smoking. I mean, you don't need to use anyone else necessarily. People can stop smoking in an hour or so, and it absolutely works brilliantly. Virtual hypnotherapy uses a combination, which is probably slightly different than most hypnotherapists. It's a combination of psychotherapy and hypnotherapy, and it's available to people all over the world in the comfort of their own home now. So as I mentioned in the video, I'm from New South Wales, and I was having people driving 3 to 5 hours to come to the room to see me. And then I would have people, because I do a little bit of work in the United States, that they wanted to have a session, and I was Skyping in at like 6 o'clock in the morning to fit in with their time, 9 o'clock at night. And my husband, that's when he said, look, you've got to stop this. This is ridiculous. You're going to burn yourself out, which we all know about burnout. So that's why we ended up putting it online. So now when people contact me, unless it's for specific things, which I will still do with Skype, we will refer them to the website, and it's sold basically all around the world now. Emotional health issues can cause many physical problems, and I think we're all aware of that. So many clients and patients have emotional health issues, and that results in physical medical conditions, and it often can't be accounted for with as a known medical problem. So the mind can create a whole range of issues. Pain is one of them, which I'll speak about in a little while. Gastrointestinal upsets, sexual problems, pseudo-neurological problems, and behavioural issues. This is a whole gamut of human beings in a way. Now, one of the things that I did speak about, and one that I'm quite passionate about, is speaking on anxiety. Anxiety is becoming a major issue, and I'm sure many of you see patients that are experiencing degrees of anxiety. Now, 25% of the population is currently experiencing anxiety. Less than 30% of them obtain treatment. So therefore, we know 70+% are untreated. It costs billions of dollars a year in health budgets because they go to a doctor, they get a pill. The pill may treat the symptom temporarily, it does not address the cause. And because of anxiety, many more physical issues then start to develop. Current treatments and medications have very limited beneficial results, and anxiety, as we know, often leads to depression. So according to the Harvard Medical School, most people that have anxiety are referred to either a counsellor or a psychologist. Counsellors are trained slightly different than psychologists. Psychologists are trained pretty much entirely with CBT or cognitive behavioural therapy. Counsellors, however, are trained in a whole range of not just CBT, but Gestalt and solution-focused and client-centred and schema therapy. So there's a slight difference. But people with anxiety disorders are at a greater risk of developing chronic medical conditions. They also have more severe symptoms and a greater risk of death when they become ill. Now, there's growing evidence of mutual influence between emotions and physical functioning. And nearly 2/3 of the estimated 40 million adults with anxiety disorders are women. Now, I always question that, and I wonder why. Well, I think women generally are everything to everyone, every hour of every day. So they do suffer more issues with being overwhelmed. But also, women have a tendency, when something isn't feeling right, they tend to go out and seek help. Now, I do know that many men also experience anxiety, but men tend to, one, keep it more internal and not discuss it, or they, what we call, self-medicate, perhaps with alcohol. So again, according to Harvard, anxiety has been implicated in several chronic physical illnesses: heart disease, chronic respiratory disorders, and gastrointestinal disorders. Now, those with untreated anxiety are more difficult to treat. Their physical symptoms often become worse. So while we may treat the symptom that they're experiencing physically, we're not removing the emotional issue, and therefore they're not going to really achieve the recovery that we want. And anxiety also plays a role in semantic symptom disorder, which is characterised by physical symptoms. Now, the first thing I do when people come into my room, and I get many with anxiety, is I stop calling it anxiety. They come in and they say, I have anxiety. The doctor's diagnosed me. I have anxiety. And I go, okay, well, let's just change that. So I start referring to it as their feeling of anxiousness, which disassociates them from the label of I am anxiety. And that's what most people unfortunately do. So we replace the word anxiety with another descriptive word. So I ask them, I usually say, okay, I'm going to take that word anxiety, I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to throw it up to the universe. It's going out, it's fizzled up in the sun. The word no longer exists on planet Earth. So what is it that you feel? And they come up with words, I'm scared, or I have fear, or I'm confused, or I'm overwhelmed. So then we refer to their condition as feeling overwhelmed or feeling fear. We remove the word anxiety completely from the session. Now, I explain to them that it is not anxiety. What anxiety is just a temporary feeling of anxiousness, which is normal. They are not anxiety. They have a feeling of anxiety. And while anxiety often will come and go, those people that have become more chronic with anxiety, it's because something is lasting a lot longer than it should, or they haven't discovered ways to think about things differently, to reframe the situation, or even learn ways to remove themselves from the situation. I get a lot of mums that come in that do feel overwhelmed. Their children are anywhere between about 7 or 8 years old up to about 15. And they're working, usually full-time if not part-time. Their husband works, so mum's getting them to sport, getting the shopping done, washing, cooking, ironing, you know, dropping the kids off, picking them up, talking to the teachers, paying the bills. You know, it's almost listening to them. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I say to them, well, you know, what can you do different than you're doing now? Oh, well, the kids won't do anything at home. Oh, the kids won't get off their iPads. So I step back, and rather than dealing with any of that overwhelming feeling they're currently going through, I go, okay, let's pull it right back. What would your life be like if your children actually made a meal one night a week, did their own washing, got the washing in off the line, vacuumed their own floor, tidied their own room, you know? And it was like, oh, life would just be so much easier. It's like, well, how about we look at that? So I do a little bit, I am trained in counselling a lot of parenting and relationship issues. So I speak to the mother, sometimes both parents, about ways that they can have a better running home, to incorporate and use not just the children, but also perhaps dad from time to time, in actually participating within the home to take the pressure off the mother. Now, it's one thing to treat anxiety with medication or hypnosis, but if the events that are continuing to create the anxiety don't change as well, then you're going to have a repeat of the issue. So we sort of go back, and then I go back one step further to actually look at that. Now, cognitive behaviour therapy, as I said, is the most common treatment for anxiety, as well as, unfortunately, medications. Now, a new major report commissioning effective talking therapy is counselling and psychology, found that CBT fails in almost 80% of clients. Yet that is the main go-to, unfortunately. Leading psychologist Oliver James says extensive evidence shows that CBT is a quick fix with no lasting benefit. What that means is they often feel better when they come out of the psychologist or the counsellor's room. Oh, I feel great, I've vented, I've let it all out. But then a day or two later, they're back to square one. And Dr. David Allen, a psychoanalytical psychiatrist, attacked CBT, claiming it's a simplistic approach that fails to address real or long-term complex issues. And I must say, I do agree with Dr. Allen. And Lund University in Sweden concluded that CBT was no more effective than mindfulness-based therapy. Mindfulness, where most of us are aware of, it brings the person into the here and now. We look at how we feel, we look at what's going on, but again, it doesn't have an often long-lasting effect because the therapist hasn't either had the skills or the knowledge to be able to work with the client to ensure that the client makes the changes that they need in their life. But not only that, but to understand what it is that they're feeling. Why do I feel anxiety? They miss the panic attack side of things when our adrenaline is released. And people get very worked up about, I've had a panic attack, and then I am petrified, scared to death that I'm going to have another panic attack. So I let them know what we can do about panic attacks. We can remove them within 1 to 2 minutes quite easily, re-empower the person once they understand what it is and how they can actually control any panic attack. So what can we do as therapists? Well, researchers at Columbia University found patients using relaxation therapy, hypnotherapy, and counselling psychotherapy had significantly fewer symptoms of anxiety and functioned better after treatment. So they use the two modalities combined. When we can relax and allow processing to occur, we reconnect and restore our natural healing ability. And I think this is what's missing in many of the therapeutic work that many practitioners are trying to do with patients. We are working in isolated sections rather than combining many of the sections. I mean, even when my clients and patients come in to see me, if I feel that there's something going on, I will refer them to either a reflexologist or an acupuncturist or even a chiropractor or osteopath. I will used to refer them to nutritionists, but I do a lot of that myself now instead because I've got the qualification to be able to do so. But when we try to keep the patient in our own little niche, that is when I think we've got a real ethical dilemma within ourselves that we're not doing the best for them. And I've written a bit on ethics, practitioner ethics, and that is a little bit of it's a focus, if you like, of what I do and the reason I do things. So hypnosis, and we've got a session that can reduce anxiety. Now, because of its ability to harness the powers of the mind, hypnosis is often utilised to relieve anxiety, enabling patients to lower emotional levels and to view issues more logically. We have preliminary studies have started to examine using hypnotherapy to treat depression as well. But with all of us human beings, we have a logical level and we have an emotional level. We all do. Emotions rise and fall, and rise and fall throughout our day. However, when emotions start to go up too high, logic disappears. We don't have any. Until emotions start to come down, logic comes back in. And what I find, a lot of people will come in, perhaps if they've suffered things like anger problems or highly emotional issues in relationships. And I'll say, and I said this and I didn't mean it, or I behaved in a way that I shouldn't have. And clearly, when you speak with them, it wasn't logical. They behaved and said things that weren't logical. And that's because their emotional levels were so high, there was no logic. So by using hypnotherapy, we can bring down their emotional levels quite quickly. And in this particular session, I give everyone what we call an anchor. I sort of anchor in. I just get them to squeeze fingers of their dominant or non-dominant hand. It's their choice. And therefore, after the session, all they need to do if they start to feel a build-up of emotion is take a large deep breath, close their eyes and squeeze that anchor. And they get just a feeling, a wave of relaxation comes over them. So therefore the emotion comes down, logic can remain or return. In this particular session, there's a video session that talks about 20 minutes about anxiety, about panic attacks, and it gives power back to the patient. And that's what it's all about, before relaxing them down and taking them into a beautiful hypnotherapy state where they can reprocess and reprogram their mind, if you like. Now, this is a nurse that came to me, her name is Arlene. She was really struggling with anxiety, working some terrible hours. She worked in the ER at times, and there was a number of interesting patients would come through, particularly in the evenings. She was prescribed pills, but it didn't work. She went to counselling, but it had a limited effect. So she was struggling to even continue to work. So she did the reduced anxiety session and commented that she was a skeptic at first. But she's now a convert. She said she was refocused, motivated and happy again. She thinks differently and she recommends it to everyone struggling with anxiety. I've had a number of patients that have come from hospitals and so on because of Arlene, which is really nice. Now there's another saying, when your mind can conceive it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. And they are the most profound, honest words I think I've heard. It is brilliant. Now, can I be induced? A lot of people ask that. I don't know if it's going to work for me. Well, as I said in the video, if we can relax enough to go to sleep, then we can relax enough to be open to suggestion. With hypnotherapy, we can only do what it is that we want to do. So people will ring me up, and a wife may ring up and say, "You're a hypnotist, I want you to stop my husband smoking." Okay, does your husband want to stop smoking? Oh, well, yes, but me and the kids really want him to. We want you to make him stop smoking. No, well, sorry, I can't do that because I can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do. Sure, it may last a few hours, but as soon as he goes to sleep and his mind reprogrammed, bang, he's back to square one. So if I do get a call from an external person, a child, a parent or whatever, when I say child I mean somebody in their 20s or 30s usually ring up for their parent, I will say that's fine, give me mum or dad's number or give me husband or wife's phone number, I will ring them or get them to ring me. When I speak to them, the first question I always ask is, why now? What's the reason now you want to stop smoking or you want to lose weight or whatever it is? I will wait for their response. If I don't hear, because I'm done with it, I'm over it, I'm sick of myself, I'm sick of this behaviour, I want to finish it. If I don't hear that, then I'll say, ring me back when you make the decision. Not that, oh, the doctor said I have to stop because I'm going to have a surgery. Oh, the wife wants me to stop because it's costing me $300 a week in smokes. It's like, well, that's great, but it's not going to have a long-term effect, so I won't not only waste my time, but also waste their money in doing something that is likely not to benefit them long term. So, we're going to do a quick little exercise for everybody. I want everyone just to put their pens down and clench their fists like this. That's all I want you to do, just clench your fists. And in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. Not just yet, but in a moment I'm going to count to 3. When I get to we're going to lift up our fingers, just 2 fingers, not yet, keep them closed, keep them closed. When I count to 3, we're going to lift up our fingers. When we lift up our fingers, we are going to look in between the 2 fingers. And what I'm going to do, not yet, keep them closed when I count to 3. Everyone does that, it's all right. When I count to 3, I will have you to lift them up, okay? In the meantime, we keep them nice and tight. We'll lift them up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as you focus in between those fingers, I am going to suggest to you that your fingers will in fact have magnets on them, that they will be drawn in together. In fact, the harder you try and pull them apart, the tighter they're going to come together, the closer they're going to come together. So you will have no option, but you will join those fingers together because that will be the suggestion that you will receive. So all we're going to do when I count to 3 is lift up those 2 fingers and look in between them and listen to my voice. Holding them tight. No, not yet. Close them together. I just want to see everyone doing it. So close them tight. And 1, and 2, 3, lift them up, lift them up. There's magnets on your fingers, magnets on your fingers. The more you try and pull them apart, the tighter they're going to be. Look in between the fingers, they're closing together. The tighter they come, the tighter they come, closer and closer together. Magnets drawing in together, the magnets, drawing them in, drawing them in, drawing them in. Pull them in, pull them in, pull them in. Like elastic bands tied to those fingers. They're moving in, they're moving in, they're moving in. You need to allow your mind to see those fingers together, see them together as they close in, close in, close in. And most of you have them together now. Good. Just put them down and shake. Just shake.
What happened?
No, that's good. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
They've moved in. I was watching everyone. There was one person that didn't move them in, and that's because, and it doesn't work for everyone, it works for 98% of the people. If a person is an analytical person with an extreme logical mind, I'm one of those, by the way, then you can actually prevent it in those first few minutes. We will always get you when we relax you down, though, not a problem. But for the majority of the population, certainly 80–85%, they will respond to that just as you all pretty much did today. Just as you all did. Have you ever experienced hypnotherapy before? Yes, right. Okay, so she would be used to it. Hey?
With difficulty.
What about if
Yes.
the person can't go under hypnosis at all?
That doesn't happen, that's never happened. If you can go to sleep and relax, you can. The analytical
Until it
mind,
happens, and a lot.
the analytical mind, depends on a therapist, I must say. The analytical mind will argue with could argue with the therapeutic direction. If you simply won't accept it, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, of course not. As I said before, it's only if we want to do something can we do it. Simple as
I
that.
have to say I oppose you because I've been trying to do that 3 times with a highly recognized hypnotherapist in 4 different countries.
It depends. With an analytical person, I spend longer doing what we call the induction, but I use a confusion technique. And what happens is, and when the person, if they're an accountant, if they're a solicitor, if they're someone with a very logical mind, that is more difficult, certainly more difficult. It certainly can be done, there's no doubt about it. And I've had people that have come in and I've suggested to do some hypnotherapy after we've done some counselling. They say, oh, I've tried that before a couple of times and it hasn't worked. I go, that's okay, that's okay. Some people relax lightly, deeply, some people relax deeply, lightly. Not a problem. Let's just give it a go. Let's just see how it works. And every single person, bar one, and it has been one in 10 years, has been able to relax down. Perhaps not completely right down, which is fine, just enough to allow their mind to drift away. And they'll say, oh, I thought of this, I thought of that. And when I've said to them, so how was that for you? It was like, oh my God, what you were saying to me, my mind was just so confused. I just wanted it just to stop. And I go, We use confusion methods. So your mind was so busy, we actually accelerate the way the mind is processing, which may sound to some people a bit odd, but we actually increase the acceleration of the mind to the stage the mind is just so overwhelmed and so busy trying to follow all the directions, it just wants to stop. And so then when I notice the client, I will say, and now we're just going to wipe it all away and stop. And they just go from there to, and they relax. Go, right, now you're right, and I can do the suggestions that you need in this therapeutic. So yes, everyone can in fact be relaxed enough to have the subconscious mind open for positive suggestions. So I believe we must expand our therapeutic knowledge and step away from singular therapies to include individual therapeutic programs to benefit each person by utilising both body and mind within the therapeutic process, which works more expansively. Now, there was a study done by the University of Zurich and found, for instance, with sleep, and we know the importance and the necessity of good sleep for all human beings. They found that the hypnosis audio session results in 80% more time in slow wave sleep, the restorative sleep, after hypnosis. They indicated, in contrast to the many sleep-inducing drugs, hypnosis has no side effects. Sleep is a major issue with so many of my clients, and I'm sure with so many of your clients and patients as well. Now, this particular lady, Caroline, she came to see me, and I was doing some counselling with her for other issues. She was complaining about the sleep, so I sent her off to the virtual hypnotherapy site where she got the virtual hypnotherapy sleep session, and she's Oh, she just had a couple of little words to say after that.
So I had the hypnotherapy and I slept all the way through. I was in a massive fire, couldn't wait for my husband to wake up and tell him. And then the next day I rang up my girlfriend and we went out for breakfast and all I could talk about was the hypnotherapy sleep and sleeping all the way through, and I told her I wasn't going to shut up for the whole day about it. So she sort of coped with that. But yeah, brilliant. Loved it.
Now, Caroline was going through some issues in her life and she was experiencing a lot of sleep issues. She was finding it difficult to go to sleep, and when she finally did, she would wake up, maybe 3 or 4 times a night. And she was really struggling. And once, as you'd all know, once our body is sleep deprived, everything is exacerbated within our life. Every pain that we feel, every issue that's presented, everything is exacerbated. So the necessity of good sleep, 7 or 8 hours sleep a night, is absolutely vital for every patient that you see. Another thing that we deal with is IBS, and I'm sure many of you in your business would come across this. As I say, gastrointestinal upsets are a major thing with people with anxiety and various emotional issues. But a 2012 study done by APA, 85% of the patients who reported improvement after hypnosis still felt better 7 years later. And that in itself is quite amazing. The conclusion that hypnotherapy could reduce both the consumption of healthcare and the cost to society, and hypnosis therefore belongs in the arsenal of treatment for IBS. I've actually got a person Skyping in on Thursday night, I think it is, from, I'm not sure where, I can't remember where it is, but IBS. And so I'll do him over Skype. Another thing that most people aren't aware of, hot flushes. So the US National Library of Medicine reported in 2013 that post-menopausal women suffering at least 50 hot flushes a week reduced these by almost 75% using hypnotherapy. Meanwhile, women who did not receive hypnosis but instead had weekly sessions with a clinician, counsellor or a psychologist had a 17% drop. But 75% drop from hypnotherapy, brilliant. Now, chronic pain is something that we're working on. I did a program yesterday on the Daily Edition on Channel 7 talking about pain because it is National Pain Week. Unrelieved chronic pain can cause considerable suffering and physical limitations and emotional distress. Now, further, chronic pain is one of the most common reasons that people seek medical care, and often persist despite analgesics and physical modalities. Now, 2 meta-analysis of the existing pain and hypnosis research, both in 2000 and again in 2009, deemed hypnosis effective in lowering pain associated with a number of conditions, including fibromyalgia, arthritis and cancer. Now, the reason is it doesn't fix the issue. But with chronic pain, and that's pain that lasts, sort of 3 to 6 months, usually after the illness or injury has repaired itself, our neural pathways are still set on the pain. It expects it. It's been set there, and it's probably been there for the last 6 to 12 months. And all of a sudden we go, okay, the issue is gone, but the pain remains. I keep feeling it. Then we focus on it, and we continually focus on pain. Now, it's just like someone that, anyone's had a toothache. Most people from time to time in their life may have a toothache. And you sit there and you focus on, oh my God, this is killing me. And you go taking a few tablets and this is shocking. And we think about it and we're focused on it. Then all of a sudden, perhaps our child falls over. Oh my God, it looks like they've broken a leg. Oh my, straight in to therapeutic mode. I'm going to fix my child, I'm going to help my child, I'm going to ring the ambulance, get them to the hospital, talk to the doctors. Everything is focused on the other person, external from us. Then the doctor comes out and says, your child is going to be fine. And you sit back down, oh my God, so good. My tooth. And there it is again. It's not that the pain was never there, or the discomfort wasn't there, it's just that we refocused our minds away from it. And that's what hypnotherapy does. It actually refocuses the mind away from the pain. Story of Wayne. You can see there, his leg. Very attractive from the surgeries that he had. So he always wanted to surf. Chronic pain in his knee due to cartilage damage. Now, he had a femoral osteotomy 10 years ago. He had 4 different surgeries, as you can see. He was on a combination of sleeping medication, pain medication, struggling to think clearly, or even live actively. Now, this is my husband. And it was just 10 years ago, and I was studying hypnotherapy. That's it. Studying hypnotherapy, yes.
Wow.
And we hadn't done any pain, but I was quite astonished at what I'd learned so far in the in hypnotherapy training. So I wrote a session, and I checked it with my teacher and said, look, I explained the issue with my husband. She read it and she said, actually, that's really good. Give it a go, see what happens. So I did the session on him. I did it one night, I did it the next morning, and that day, which I didn't know, he didn't take any pain then. And then I did it the following day, 2 days later as well, and I was hoping it was going to work on him. I was really hoping it was going to work. 3 days later, I sort of was a bit nervous, and I said, so, how's your leg? And he said, well, funny you should ask. He said, I haven't taken any pain meds now for 3 days since your first session. And it's like, wow. This is amazing, have I cured you? But no, but what had happened is he said, to be honest, I haven't actually thought about it. He said, my mind hasn't been thinking about it. And he said, well, why don't we go for a walk? And we hadn't been able to go for a walk for, months because of his leg. And we went for a walk. We didn't go far, we probably only went about maybe 400 metres and came back, and I'm going, well, how is it? And he's going, oh, well, no, it's good, but stop asking me, because every time you ask me, I go there and I think about it. Okay, not going to do that again. So now he surfs every day. Every day. They told him 10 years ago that he would. The only reason they didn't do a knee replacement was because he was 50, and they said it's too early for a knee replacement. You only get 15 years maximum of 2 knee replacements. We can't do it. So they said within 7 to 8 years you will need a knee replacement. No doubt you will need one. You have no cartilage in your leg. That was 10 years ago. No pain, no medication, surfs every day, and we walk probably about 3 or 4 kilometres at minimum every single afternoon we can. So I knew then, wow, this stuff is so powerful. Now we do a lot of hypnosis for weight loss. Over 60% of the population have weight problems. Doctors aren't trained, as we know, in weight loss. Current treatments don't work long time. So using a combination I've found with psychotherapy and hypnotherapy magnifies the benefits. The session that I put together, the same as I do in the room, it's an educational session using what we call NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, before embedding positive, empowering suggestions. Now this is a lady, Jenna. It's the same lady. The same person. She gained weight after her daughter, she felt guilty, she tried like meal replacements, pills, going to gym, nothing had worked. She used the virtual hypnotherapy and that's the result. So here's just Jenna.
Hi, my name's Jenna. I've done the virtual hypnotherapy online. So far I've lost about 20 kilos and it's literally the best thing I've ever done. Actually nice and relaxing to sit down at night or whenever you're ready to do it and watch the videos. I was a little bit iffy at first, thinking is it going to be better than going to an actual room and doing it, or is it going to be easier to just sit at home and do it in my own time when I feel ready to do it? And it's been so successful. The way that I look at food now is different. I've been able to easily change my lifestyle to fit what needs to be done to lose the weight. If I feel like I'm lacking motivation, I'll just re-watch the hypnotherapy video and it gets me straight back on track. Listening to the sleep audio at night time, it's really, really soothing to go to bed and listen to it. It doesn't take long at all to get into the swing of things, and yeah, like in the first week I lost 5 kilos and that's huge. It's like, it makes you feel really good about yourself. You live a lot happier, so it's really, really great, and I'm so glad I have done it. It's the best thing, and knowing that I can just go back to it if I need to is great. I would recommend it to everyone that wants to lose weight, or even for anything else. Like, it's amazing. It's really, really, really amazing.
As I say, that is her now. Jenna looked like that, obviously. She wasn't very proud of her body. She felt unempowered. Now, wow, she looks sensational, unbelievable. Now, smoking is another very common use for hypnotherapy. Smoking is one of the largest preventable causes of death and disease. And we often wonder, why do people do this? Why do they smoke? They know the ramifications. What I found over many years in the room is that most smokers came in really believing that smoking calms me down. It soothes me, it makes me feel comfortable and calm again. And I just say to them when they sit there, I listen, I go, So could you explain to me please, what is it about sucking in smoke into your mouth and down into your lungs that's soothing or calming? And they look at me and they go, oh, well, actually, when you put it that way, I really don't know. But I go through a psychotherapy session, more of an educational session, explaining the reason that our body responds so well to, which has nothing to do with smoke, by the way, at all. We also know that smoking kills 1 in 8 adults, and every 8 seconds who tells us that someone dies from smoking. It's a habit that can be ceased. All of the ads that we have, particularly here in Australia, it's the quit smoking ads. The first line usually is, it's hard to stop. It's like, well, what are you embedding into people? I'm going to struggle with this, it's going to be difficult, I'm going to suffer these withdrawal symptoms. And then one of the ads recently was someone there watching TV, it was a young man who was yelling and screaming at the TV until his partner put a cigarette in his mouth and he sat back and he relaxed. This is a quit smoking ad. I mean, seriously. So people often say, but what about the withdrawals? And I say there won't be any. There are no withdrawals, there are no cravings, nothing. When you do a good hypnotherapy session, they leave the session and they just don't smoke again. Now, a lot of people claim that they've got this and that success rate. It's very, very difficult to claim any success rate. All I know is that from my rooms and also the people online, they come from referrals. Just about every one of them has come from referrals. So therefore, if I do a smoker, how do I know that they've stopped smoking? Because they've told another person about it and they come in and say, will you stop them? And that was 3 or 4 months ago, I want you to do the same for me now, please. And that's how we know whether or not it's successful. We do contact people after sessions, so many weeks after sessions, just to check in and see how they're going. And I've had the odd person to say, I think I need another session. And there was one lady that said, yes, it was 6 months, it was great. And she rang me up and she said, I had a cigarette. I said, okay, what happened? Oh, I went to, it was her mother's funeral and her sisters smoked and she sat there and she just had a cigarette. And she said, oh my God, I don't want to become a smoker again. And I spoke to her on the phone for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And the end of the phone call was that, you know what, I don't need to come and see you. I'm never going to have one of those disgusting things ever again. And I said, that's great. If you need me, you know where I am. Just give me a call. Didn't hear from her. So usually if someone does have a stumble, and occasionally they do, the beauty with the virtual sessions is that it's theirs to keep forever. So they can just go back to it any time. With the weight and the smoking, as Jenna mentioned, we give them a sleep audio as well. So it's like a 3-pronged effect. It's a video, psychotherapy video, followed by a hypnotherapy audio, followed by a sleep audio. And they listen to that every night for a couple of weeks, I suggest, which relaxes them down, and then lots of subliminal messages within the music. The music we've had produced by a musician working in with us to follow the alpha beta waves of the brain. So it's a very successful music that the brain just loves and people respond to so well. Sometimes I put the music on in the room just as I'm getting ready, and some of them are just about drifting off without me even saying a word. So we know the music works incredibly well. This was Kath, another lady. She was a high executive, very stressful job. She'd smoked for 25 years. She tried the patches, the pills, the gum, the spray, as they all do. And then she finally did the quit smoking. And the session was so informative, it made sense. It's been 14 months, she said, and I still hate the smell of a cigarette. I wish I'd known before. And that's what everyone seems to say when they come in. I wish I'd known of this before. Why did I leave it until I tried everything else? So we had another gentleman, we've got one called Abolish Habits. This particular gentleman used it for his gambling problem. He tried many other things, and he used the session 3 times over 3 weeks just to really embed everything. And when I contacted him, he said he hadn't been near a coffee machine, it was 4 months. He contacted me a couple of weeks later after that, quite proud of himself, because he said, actually, I had trouble with alcohol as well, and I used it for that. He said, I'm not drinking. I said, good to hear. So there's a few different things that we can do. Now, maldebarkment is something that some of you may have heard of. It's a vertigo issue, usually after a cruise or a flight. And I treated a lady, Joan, that's not her actually, it was another lady that came into the room, and she'd struggled for 18 months, been to every scan and doctor known to man. She was still not able to even walk in a straight line when she came in. So she did one session and she left walking in a straight line. She'd even driven up to see her daughter in Port Macquarie, which is about a 4-hour drive from where we lived, and it was the first time she'd been able to drive in 18 months. So I wrote a blog about it, and this lady is from, I think, I'm not sure where in the States, Chicago I think she was. She said, look, I've got the same issue. Hers from a car, which was unusual. But the reason I don't do it in a virtual session is because everyone is very individual with maldebarkment. So I can do Skype sessions with people as well. So yeah, because I wrote the blog, I probably get 1 or 2 people a week contacting me in regards to doing sessions with them, usually over Skype, to get rid of it because they've exhausted every other opportunity. Now, these are the things that we do with virtual: quit smoking, weight loss, decreasing anxiety, reducing pain, improving sleep. Phobias are another big thing. A lot of people have phobias about various things. We did a separate one for fearless flight. Flying was a major issue for many people. I mean, needles, obviously, and fear of dogs, insects, that sort of thing. I've had one, frogs. She was terrified of frogs. She was moving to Darwin, and she knew that she was going to run into frogs and cane toads. So she figured that she had a problem when she was sitting in a doctor's surgery assistant ready for her medical exam to take the job, and she turned over the page and there was a picture of a frog. She threw the magazine across the floor and screamed and jumped up, and she said, I figured then I have a frog problem. So that's where she sorted out issues. Removing bad habits, as I said, even nail biting. We were written up in news.com for nail biting. The journalist, when we first launched Virtual Hypno, was interested in it, and she said, look, I don't really need to lose weight, I don't smoke, but I bite my nails. Have you got anything for that? And I said, well, not yet, give me the weekend. So I did, I recorded a session over the weekend. She did it, didn't hear anything more for about a month. And then all of a sudden we were sitting on the lounge one night and we could hear this bing, 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 bing. And what's going on with the computer? There were sales coming through. And my daughter rang me, she said, Mum, you've just made front page at news.com. And she'd written an article about it with pictures of her nails pre and post and claiming the benefits. And she said now the only issue is she does this for the first time ever, and that was annoying her because she's tapping her nails. But she did say, I love the sound of it. So these are how we sell the virtual hypnotherapy cards. We don't sell them in Australia here, but they've gone into pharmacies all through Bermuda, and they're about to go into spas and resorts over in America and Bermuda as well. So the fact that they're being sold in the pharmacies now, one of the guys that did the sessions owns a range of pharmacies, and he was so wrapped in them, he said, I want to sell them in all my pharmacies. So we design cards. So virtual hypnotherapy sessions, as I say, combine psychotherapy and hypnotherapy. It allows people to use the sessions as they need them for minimal cost, anything from $15 to $50. It's all they pay and it's theirs forever. They never have to pay again, no need to wait for an appointment or travel, and they can enjoy it in the comfort of their own home. So it is becoming an accepted and integral natural therapeutic modality, and we suggest to a lot of practitioners to work with their clients, and if they can refer their clients to using a hypnotherapy session among the modalities that you are treating them for, then the clients are going to obviously receive faster benefit in most instances, which also then reflects on the practitioner. So we're giving everyone a free sleep audio. So all we need is your business card or your email address. We will send you through a link to the website, and you put the code into that and you will get downloaded your own virtual hypnotherapy sleep session. So we suggest that you use it overnight, and there will be times that we all struggle going to sleep, depending on what's going on in our mind and what's going on in our world. And I suggest that you give it a try and you just use it and drift off to sleep. So thank you so very much. That's our website there, virtualhypnotherapy.com. or if you want to email us. Some of the therapists and even doctors that are referring their clients now, we give them a special code, and if their client purchases anything, then a percentage goes directly back to the practitioner as well for referring. So there's different ways we can do it. So thank you so very much. Have any questions? Or I can speak to you at lunch. Thank you.
We'll be having actually a panel session for discussion at the end of today's session. Yeah, thank you so much, Karen Phillip, excuse me, for the wonderful presentation, and actually very fruitful actually. And I always, everybody say that behind successful, every successful man is a woman, but the vice versa is a woman. Behind every successful man is a man. We are very excited about the story of your husband, as well as my story about my wife, how she helped me. She was a nurse. And also yesterday we heard the story of Shane, Dr. Shane, about and his wife. She turned also to join the chiropractic. So really marvelous, very interesting, and we feel like together we make a better world, and we can actually the world.
Absolutely.
So it's fantastic for today's presentation. We really love it. Everybody enjoyed it. I would like to call upon Anna Hilarious Ford to present the certificate to Karen Phillip, please.
Thank you so
much. Thank you for the windows, like a beautiful background there.
Thank you so very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for
you.
your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.